As I told you all yesterday, people love the Whitlock. Lil Wayne asked for the Whitlock to return. It's a little difficult for me to do it from my crib. We don't have a teleprompter. I've got some notes here. There were a couple of things yesterday when I opened the show talking about how I think national pride, patriotism, the true celebration of sports is going to return to its natural role. I left out a few things that I wanted to circle back on because, again, I'm working without a teleprompter. I'm not as precise without the prompter. I like to talk about controversial issues, and that's why I like a teleprompter. I like to write out things. I have some notes here on a couple of things that I just wanted to restate and perhaps I left out, and then I'm going to offer LaVar the opportunity because he called me after the show, and he really wanted to engage me on the subject and ask a few questions. But I think after this pandemic, or this pandemic we're going through with the coronavirus, is causing Americans to be re-educated on the threat of communism and the dangers of allowing way too much foreign influence over American culture. Of course, the coronavirus started in China. This has provoked, I believe, a lot of conversation about China and our relationship with China, coupled with the fact Daryl Morey and the comments the Houston Rockets general manager made back in October that sparked a lot of controversy in the NBA. You couple the coronavirus with Daryl Morey's comments, and we're starting to have a conversation here in America that is taking us where we needed to be. We can't continue to have all of this foreign influence over American culture, over American sports, China playing a big role in the NBA, a big role with Nike. And it's my contention that a lot of the Nike athletes, in terms of their, I believe, unfair attack on America and a lot of the things they've been saying or trying to position through marketing campaigns, through T-shirts or even television commercials, a lot of that has been about currying favor in China with the Communist political party that founded China and is still in control of China. I think a lot what you've heard from LeBron James, what you've seen from Colin Kaepernick, what you've seen from Megan Rapinoe, a lot of that is about Nike and their relationship with China and a propaganda war that's been going on between the United States and China forever. And if you understand how communist parties work, they always try to smear democracies and capitalist countries and America particularly with the race card. We're a racist society. We're repugnantly racist. And again, have we had problems here? Absolutely. There is not a country on the planet that deals with race better than America, though. These issues are everywhere, or they're not as pervasive in countries like China because they don't have our diversity. But anyway, I don't want to go on as long as I did yesterday. I can't believe I went on for 16 minutes. I got a little bit of emotional and heated. I'm going to bring LaVar into the conversation and let LaVar probe me on a couple of things that he thought I wasn't as complete or needed to clarify a bit more so that everybody could totally understand where I was coming from. Let's go out to LaVar's crib. LaVar, welcome to Speak for Yourself from the crib.
Yep.
The floor is yours. What's your questions?
Well, I mean, just listening to the conversation and hitting you up about it, I think what I was wanting a little bit more clarity on and listening to your Whitlock yesterday and even what you're stating now is, can you go a little bit deeper into communism and China and how that is playing such a direct role and having such a major influence on American sports culture? Like, what does that mean to us as Americans that are participating or paying attention to sports and American culture?
Look, I think one of the things that we don't understand about communism, and again, we used to understand it because we were hyper-focused on it because we were in a Cold War and we had the Soviet Union as a rival, and people used to understand and be explained this in school, and everybody in the country had an understanding of the dangers of communism. We don't have that anymore. The Soviet Union fell apart in the 1980s. We haven't had a rival. Our focus has been taken off of that. China, run by a communist political party, founded by a communist political party. Let me just explain this about communism. It's hostile towards religion. Very hostile. Communism came from Karl Marx, 1800s socialist philosopher from Germany. Karl Marx, go look it up. You don't have to trust me. Thought religion was the soul for soulless people. Thought religion was the opium for the stupid. Thought religion was a bad thing. Karl Marx, a socialist, and who fought for the end of capitalism, wanted the working class to overthrow capitalists and the government, and wanted socialism to lead to communism. Again, you don't have to take my words for it. These are all verifiable facts. And so when you look at America and how secular it has become and is becoming, and again, I don't want to force my beliefs on everybody. I just want everybody to deal with the facts. America, the United States of America, has been founded on Judeo-Christian values. Whether we like it or not, you may not like it, but those were the values we have been founded on. That had been the pervasive culture of America. We keep getting more and more secular. And the American media companies, Hollywood, the sports world, because we've sold out this country to China and their money and their more than 1 billion population, they have amazing influence in America, including influence over our athletes that go to China every offseason to go make more millions of dollars over in China. And in China's such a tightly controlled country, go look at their reaction to Daryl Morey and his comments on Hong Kong, that the athletes and Nike know that your message needs to be in line with our message if you want to continue to make money over here. And that's why I think so much of the messaging in sports, in the media, and everything is turning more and more secular, anti-religion. So I just think, particularly for African Americans, we have been so passionately religious here in America. And I don't think we understand, when people start talking about communism and socialism, I don't think they understand the hostility towards Christian values, other religious values, the opium of the stupid, the soul for the soulless. Communism at its foundation, hostile to our Judeo-Christian beliefs here in America. So that would be my answer, LaVar.
All right. Now, there was one more thing that really jumped out at me yesterday when you were giving the Whitlock, was the statement where you said men right now are a luxury, but after the pandemic, after the coronavirus pandemic, men will become a necessity. And I found that to be a pretty interesting statement, and I had some thoughts on it. I'm just wondering, can you expand on that a little bit? Because I had some pushback. Obviously, I had to call you on it. I had a little pushback on it, but first tell me exactly what were you feeling when you made that statement?
Look, I think if anybody watches this show, they know that I believe there's an attack on masculinity. And I believe part of that attack on masculinity is an attack on football, the most masculine, popular sport we have in America. Perhaps prize fighting is more masculine, perhaps UFC, but they don't carry near the sway of football, and they don't touch as many people as football does. Everybody can play football, whether you're tall, short, fat, skinny, fast, slow, strong, weak, whatever. You can be a kicker. Everybody plays football, and it is the most popular, most powerful thing in our popular culture. That's why I think football is under attack, because there is an attack on masculinity. There is a movement to redefine men and masculinity. Some of that I think is very healthy, but some of it I think has gone too far, and we have made the ideal of the traditional American man. He's a luxury item. And so I think the coronavirus and what it's sparking with us in China. Again, this Cold War that could lead to some real conflict. Again, when you get, and we've heard our president say this coronavirus, we're in a wartime mindset. Well, when you really understand a wartime mindset, that's a time for men. And again, that's not, we have a lot of women in the military. I get it. They're very courageous. I get it. But throughout the history of the world, when it comes to war and the mentality and who actually participates the most, and I'm talking about it just not in a physical confrontation, but I'm talking about if in this coronavirus, if food, shelter, and safety become a priority, it's a time for men. And it's a time for masculine men. And it's a time for men to be men again the way we used to be. Now, we can be better. We don't have to do all the stupid, inappropriate things we used to do and used to get away with. We can be proper men, and that's what I think we're headed back towards. We're no longer going to be a luxury item. We're going to be a necessity.
You know, my thought on that statement, the reason why it rang so loudly to me when I heard it, was as a high school football coach, I have been fighting the good fight of trying to convince people and families and young men how important it is to participate in the game of football and even sports in general. And I started thinking about that statement you made, and I was like, wow, you know, this pandemic is going to actually further expose the obsession that we have with technology. And I started thinking, okay, this is a time for men because men are a luxury, and now they should become a necessity to teach that old school value, that old school way of doing things. You know, I grew up in a home with a man who fought for our country in the Vietnam War. We weren't allowed to have excuses. You had to do things, get out there, rake up leaves, mow the lawn, you know, clean gutters out, you know, things that we pay people to do so much these days. We had to do that as kids. And I started thinking to myself, you know, social media, computers, video game consoles. My biggest concern is it's not going to be a luxury or a necessity. I almost feel as though we're in like a red zone area as an American culture. And in that red zone, this is a third down situation where our defense needs to get a big stop and have them kick a field goal instead of score a touchdown, because I feel like we're getting further away from family values. How do you grow up as a family, a man in the family, a woman? How does the mom represent the family? Because they're too busy playing video games. They're too busy, you know, being on social media. You know, I watch people when I go out and I see 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes sitting down to eat, and families don't even look at each other anymore. They're too busy looking at their mobile devices. Now I started thinking to myself, we have to stay in to become healthy again. We're being social distanced from each other. But you know what? Some of these people are not being socially distanced because they've been on their headphones, their headsets, talking to their friends. They've been playing football. I don't have to play football on the field because I can play football on my PS2, my PS4. I can play video games and talk to my friends, Call of Duty, on my computers. I would wonder, and I would ask you this, Whit, in terms of the influence of what that necessity of a man represents and what the family ultimately represents. Where do we go? Where does that end up? And how does that apply to sports coming out of this coronavirus pandemic?
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. And be sure to check out more of the best clips from Speak For Yourself, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.